I think what's missing from that are the businesses that completely faced an existential end. I mean, there's a big chunk of if you're in hospitality or, any sort of entertainment or, travel or, something like that. I think that those particular verticals really got hurt, but it's all over the map, honestly. And depending upon how you can adapt, and what the cool part has been to see how businesses have adapted. And for going to our company, the idea of going completely virtual, like we just didn't have any choice. And fortunately, being the communications business, quote unquote, knowledge workers, we could do that, and people were used to working with computers. But depending upon what the industry was, it's been a big deal. And fortunately, I think the government has stepped up in the PPP program and other things that have been very helpful to lots of businesses. So we didn't have to lay anybody off, and we kind of were going right along. And our fourth quarter was really rough, but we just kept with our strategy, and now we're starting to see it come back. But yeah, I would say that the only thing I would say on that is that I think there's a whole section of companies that were just vaporized by this. And I think that's one of the things we've learned is that people can work everywhere. So it's been advantageous to a certain extent. And obviously our travel budgets went to zero. We've lowered our footprint at our offices, and on a go forward basis, we'll be adjusting, because I don't think it's going to be a completely binary decision about whether we all go back or we don't. I think it's depending upon what job you have. And so if you're writing code all day, then you really don't need to come to the office all that much, just every once in a while. But if you're part of a creative team or or some other strategy where collaboration might be more important, then I think it's that the people will come back. I, for one, am very anxious to get back, because I find great comfort, and I feed off of the energy of meeting with people. And also, I think it fosters cohesiveness, because there's management by walking around, and so you can go up and see somebody and just have a chat with them. If things seem maybe a bit off, or they seem a little bit blue or whatever, you can maybe go have a coffee with them and find out what's going on. And you just don't have that. Or you find some person that you really don't have that much interface with, and you realize, oh my gosh, this person's really special, because you just bump into them, So anyway, the advertising business for where refocus is in the life sciences, and so heretofore, there were still some age-old, practically, ways that companies promote with a field sales force, and that's obviously not viable. So non-personal promotion has become a huge practice area, and so omni-channel communication between social media and obviously email and PR and direct mail still is a thing, and so there and many more other channels that are available. And so now it's a sort of the challenge is to find out what's really commercially relevant, what really moves the needle, what educates. But it's very, very different. I think initially there's going to be pressure on the commercial real estate business as far as office space is concerned, because I do think people are going to be coming back with a lighter footprint. And frankly, that's what a lot of our younger employees, they really like the flexibility of not having to come into the office and to work, and allows them to have a better work-life balance. And so we're definitely going to support that. But I also do feel that you lose something. You lose cohesiveness. We've seen our turnover rates tick up a bit, and I think some of that is because you're not meeting with people, and so that bond isn't quite the same. And also, frankly, employers are not geofenced anymore. So now, like, we have some of our employees, as I mentioned earlier, live in Kentucky. It's like, well, that's great, and they love living out there in a beautiful rural setting, and as long as they've got decent internet, they can be very productive. And it works out well for everybody. But it's also a challenge, in that we will find competitors that are in very diverse geographic locations that will find recruiters that'll come to us, and all of a sudden they'll pluck people out from here in Chestertown and say, no, you can work for an agency in New York City now. And so that's something that we've had to respond to. I think Chestertown is one of the most remarkable places that certainly we love living here. We've been here now for 18 years, just outside of town. I can't believe that it's been that long. And the more I get to know it, the more people that I have an opportunity to talk to, the more, frankly, I'm impressed. And like, it's not perfect like anything else, but one of the things that I like to do is I like to attend the town hall meetings virtually, and particularly during the Black Lives Matter movement, which is obviously still ongoing, but when it was really at a fever pitch here last summer, I was incredibly impressed with the quality of the rhetoric and, frankly, the discipline and the politeness generally of the citizens of Chestertown. I was like, this is like the framers of the Constitution are here in Chestertown, to stretch it a little bit. But I was really impressed. I think the college obviously plays a big part of that. But I think it's a place that if you get it, you get it. And people flock, or not flock, but come here intermittently and dribs and drabs maybe. Geese flock here, that's for sure. But I think it's an absolutely wonderful place, and I think it's shown a lot of resilience, and a lot of the business people here in town have shown incredible grit and intelligence in the way they've adapted, and so I'm very proud of Chestertown. I can't imagine Chestertown without Washington College, and frankly, I think Washington College benefits from Chestertown being a lovely place for the right student. I think it's a very special place. But I think we need to foster more of that, and particularly the college. And again, I speak only as a citizen of Chestertown, but there were some incidents at the college where people of color, students, didn't feel safe. And I think we really need to understand that and realize that we have to respond not only as an institution, but also as a community, that it's a big deal. And I think I did not realize how prevalent racism is in our society. And I think, recent political administrations did not help that situation, and I think it fostered an atmosphere where our less noble angels were presented themselves, and I didn't realize how extensive it was. And I think you talk to people of color, and they were really surprised by that. I don't think they are. And now you're seeing it, with Asian Americans, and so there's on balance with that. I think ultimately we live in a wise republic, and I still believe that people are inherently good. But I really do feel that, look, the experiment of multicultural democracy is new. When so we've had a democracy for a long time. Well, we were all European, and sorry to the poor Indians, but they weren't part of the democracy. They paid a price, a heavy price. But for all of us who came, and it was pretty, we were all pretty aligned. And then with the changes in the demographic types of folks that live here, I think multicultural democracy is really in its early stages. And I think we are in a very problematic time in our history, and that we all have to be very vigilant to make sure that those institutions are defended, and that we have a big tent, because ultimately the diversity of the country has always been a tremendous strength for us, and I don't think that's changed. We're really I'm very proud of the company, and again, it's still headquartered here in Chestertown. And by the way, just as far as businesses go, we talk about development and whatnot, and I think what some of the other larger businesses here in town, with Dixon Valve has done outside of town, to me, I go by that, and we all get concerned about development, right? It's right next to town. It's contiguous to the town, and to me, it is literally just almost a temple of commerce the way this thing looks. And I go by, and I'm so proud to have a company or Lamont or all the other. There are lots of fine companies that are here, but to see that in particular as you go by and you see it, it's like, well, good on Chestertown to be able to have a place like that, and obviously congratulations to that organization to have that success. But to me, I think I feel very optimistic about the future of Chestertown.